Hello, Mr. Roberto. Nice to meet you. How do you feel?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are an expert in the energy field, so we have set 9 questions about energy to consult with you. So the first part is energy transformation. First question is, what do you think are the most important changes and trends currently facing the global energy sector?
Thank you for the question. There are many trends, but definitely we can see a big growth in renewable energy and all the industry related to the renewable energy, being wind or solar, but also the batteries underpinning it. There's a big trend in increasing of electric vehicle. And in general, that is also one of the challenges. There is a big increase in energy demand globally. So these are 3 trends I would underline: growth in renewable, growth in electric vehicle, and also growth overall in energy demand.
Climate change is a growing issue, and the energy transition is seen as a key to mitigating its effect. What do you think are the biggest challenges in the energy transition?
This is a great question. There are actually many challenges in the energy transition. Energy transition is quite complex. It's not as straightforward as moving from fossil fuel to renewable. That in itself would be super complicated, but energy transition is very complex. In short, I would say, an energy transition has to address the 3 main dimensions that an energy system delivers, notably security, of course sustainability, but also affordability. So the complexity of the transition is because of these 3 elements. They need to be achieved at the same time. So this is, I would say, the biggest challenge of the energy transition at the moment is being able to have an equitable, sustainable, and secure energy transition.
At present, we can clearly see that the new energy and the automotive industries are closely related and complement each other. What other industries do you think will see further growth in the future along with the global energy transition?
Certainly the industrial clusters, the industrial system is keeping the demand growing for energy. And so that is also one of the big opportunities to address the energy transition through addressing all the industrial production. So you mentioned mobility, so of course transport, then the industrial activity, and the third one I would say is all the energy that is consumed in the urban environment. So these are the 3 big pockets of energy consumption. On top of it now, more and more, we are seeing the increase in demand from the digital industry, if you like, the technology industry, because of the huge use of data that we do nowadays.
At the same time, we also see that smart grids, energy storage technology, and other emerging technologies are changing the energy industry. What potential do you see for these technologies to drive the energy transition?
I see a huge potential. I think this is really the key element for the energy transition, because a transition, as we were saying earlier, has to be also equitable and affordable and providing security. So this technology will allow energy efficiency all to a next level. So optimization of the energy consumption, reducing energy intensity. As I was saying earlier, one of the trends that we are seeing is growth in energy demand. But we can't grow infinitively our energy system. So to address the growth in the need for energy and the challenge, we need to have a much more efficient system, and that is possible through the digital technology, the smart grid, the innovation that we can bring through the technology.
At the World Economic Forum, you mentioned that we still need a lot of investment for the energy transition. In your opinion, what are the shortcomings of the current investment in the new energy sector? Is it a lack of capital, or is it an uneven distribution of the industry? How to guide the flow of funds to the new energy industry?
Quite complex question, but definitely one of the imbalance we see is the lack of investment where most is needed, that is in emerging economies. A lot of the demand growth comes from emerging economies, and not enough investment in the new technology are coming in the emerging technology. So definitely there is an imbalance there where it's possible to accelerate the transition globally if we act where most of the demand growth is, i.e. the emerging economies. To do that, we need, from one side, from the emerging economies, a very clear objective and plan so that the investor can see that the policy are put in place for the long run and they can feel comfortable investing. I don't think the problem is lack of capital, because there is a lot of capital, and now people realize how much potential there is also in new technologies. but there is a need for that policy environment that allow those investments to come through. And as I was saying, mainly in emerging economies, that would be a big step forward if there were more investment there.
Energy policy and international cooperation are focused too, so we are talking about this topic. You have a point of view is to talk about the real energy system is to be conducive to both economic development and sustainable cycle. However, for developing countries, balancing economic development and sustainable energy can be a challenge. What do you think can be done to facilitate this balance?
It is indeed, it is a challenge, and one element that is important to keep in mind is while the impact on climate is global, energy transition eventually is local. But again, there are these opportunities to leverage the global technology, global innovation, but then needs to be applied locally. So each country will have a different speed in the transition based on the different social, economic condition that the country has, and we should not penalize those countries that are still going through a phase of economic development. The other way around, we should find ways to invest even more in those countries to do exactly what you said, allowing economic development with an energy system that is more sustainable. So I think this is a challenge that cannot be afforded only by the emerging economies, so the global investor need to act on that as well.
You once mentioned that we must cooperate in the energy transition. Nowadays, different countries have different energy needs and resources. How do you think we can promote global energy cooperation under the premise of respecting sovereignty?
This is a very interesting question in this period in which there are some of the balances that were before are shifting. The shifting in geopolitics, the shifting in the energy mix are creating all of the new balance that need to be found. If you think before was mainly oil and gas and coal, so hydrocarbon, and there was a certain global balance that was found, I think we are going towards a different balance that need to be found, and that's why we see a lot of movement in this space at the moment, because there is not yet clarity on which will be the new setup. China has been investing in the new technology for many years. We are seeing through the index we produce every year on ranking countries how fast has gone China in reaching the top 20 countries in the world through the energy transition. Other countries have been slower in realizing that. So I think every country or every region is trying to figure out how to play a role in the new energy system, and there will be a period of uncertainty, and then little by little I think this will be settled.
The last question is about future outlook. Let's imagine about future. From your professional point of view, what do you think will be the biggest change in the energy sector in the next decade? What are the developments to look forward to?
The one that I hope the most is the one that addresses the non-energy consumption. By that I mean the energy efficiency, so how we address really the energy efficiency all to a next level, and the circularity, because we'll need more energy, so how we use and reuse the materials that are needed. So I think this will be a big opportunity for business, but also for sustainability. And on the other side, we are seeing a lot of technology coming through. The cost of the new technology are going down, but we should not neglect the current technology that can be decarbonized. So I think we'll see more development also on CCUS or CCS, carbon capture and storage, or carbon capture utilization and storage, to capture the emission from the fossil fuel system that we have today, being that coal or gas or oil, because this is still a very valuable form of energy with the problem that is too many CO2 emissions. So I can see a lot of investment also coming up in the space to reduce emission from those sectors. Last, at least more in Europe than in China, because in China is already quite well developed, I think there is a reconsideration of nuclear as a sustainable form of energy, especially with the new type of nuclear that have been developed with the small modular reactor and others. So I really think there are a lot of opportunity for this transition, all the way from addressing the efficiency to the new technology and the old technology with carbon capture, and so it's going to be an exciting decades ahead of us.